Everyone's talking. On social media, everyone's a judge, a lawyer, a truth teller. Opinions clash. Accusations fly. As if justice belongs to whoever shouts the loudest. But in a democracy, noise doesn't decide, law does. And now, all eyes are on one name, Sara Duterte. This isn't just a political drama. This is impeachment, and it follows rules, not rumors. So before the verdict is written in hashtags, let's rewind. Who's in charge of this process? And is it being handled or hijacked? I'm Janine. This is Janine The Judge. The impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte is underway. Documents, allegations, emotions, they've all been thrown to the public. If we only looked at social media, we'd think the case is already closed. But democracy doesn't work on popularity. That's why the Supreme Court is now stepping in. Not because they want to play politics, but because they must ensure the Constitution isn't being twisted. Some say, dapat na siyang bumaba. Others scoff, this is nothing but political revenge. But in the middle of all that noise, one question remains. Who really has the final say? The people shouting online, or the Constitution as interpreted by the Supreme Court? They are the highest authority when it comes to judging whether this process follows the Constitution. Not us, not the media, not politicians. The House has even submitted additional documents to the Supreme Court, explaining that the impeachment proceedings, including the fourth complaint sent directly to the Senate, a fair question arises. Why are only they allowed to interpret the Constitution? Why is the decision in the hands of just 15 judges, not chosen by likes or popularity? Their duty is singular, to interpret the Constitution. They don't decide what's morally right or wrong, only whether the impeachment process aligns with the Constitution. They look at whether this impeachment process follows the law, because in our legal system, the Supreme Court is the last line of defense. They exist to make sure no institution acts beyond its powers. But are we ready to accept it if their ruling goes against our beliefs? What if the court says the procedure is flawed even though we believe the allegations are true? In a nation governed by law, it's not emotions or opinions that decide. It's the rules. The question is, when the law doesn't align with our expectations, can we still believe in it? Some columnists say we must be patient. The court is not a place for popularity contest. Only they are authorized to interpret the law, not the media, not netizens. A few weeks ago, the House submitted additional information to the Supreme Court regarding the impeachment process against Vice President Sara Duterte. The issue isn't just is she impeachable or not, but whether the process is being carried out constitutionally. Some say this is just political theater. Others say the court is moving too slowly. But let's be honest, if there's no single institution that can verify the legality of the procedure, then who decides the limits of power? If the Supreme Court stays silent, opinions will keep clashing without any boundaries or resolution. And that's why everyone is now waiting. Will the court declare the process valid? Or will they nullify it? Justice cannot be rushed. The Supreme Court doesn't react like a social media account. They read, examine, weigh, and decide. Because they know one decision today could become a precedent for decades. Often we feel we know what's right, but the law isn't decided by feelings. It's decided by process and principle. We may feel frustrated, but let's not forget, the law is truly tested when we're tempted to ignore it. When we throw away procedures for emotion, we open the door to chaos. Impeachment isn't political punishment. It's a legal process, and in law, the method is often just as important as the goal. In the end, this is a test of our commitment to the rule of law, not just popular sentiment. The House report includes serious allegations against VP Sara Duterte, misuse of confidential funds, and failure in oversight duties. Today, it's the impeachment process of Sara Duterte being tested. But in truth, it's all of us who are being tested. Democracy stands on three pillars: the legislative that makes the rules, the executive that enforces them, and the judiciary that ensures everything stays within the Constitution. Can we trust and respect the Supreme Court's decision, even when it's surrounded by political interest? Sometimes, the hardest part of justice is accepting outcomes we don't like, but still believing in the system. The impeachment team is reportedly ready with witnesses and evidence, but it all hinges on one thing: the Supreme Court's decision on whether the process is valid. The Supreme Court may be silent, but it's in that silence that they're crafting decisions that could shape the nation's direction. Today, we may disagree on who's at fault, but hopefully, we can agree on one thing: that only the law should have the final say. Because if not the Supreme Court, then who can we trust to protect the Constitution? True justice isn't only when we win, but when we're willing to accept losing for the sake of principle. Now the question is, are we mature enough for that? Share your thoughts in the comments. Not to prove who's right, but to show that we still care about justice. I'm Janine, and this is Rewind.